everyone. So today we are going to start with Unit 1, Diversity in the Living World. Biology is the science of life forms and living processes. The living world comprises an amazing diversity of living organisms. Early, man could easily perceive the difference between inanimate matter and living organisms. Early, man defined some of the inanimate matter, such as wind, sea, fire, etc., and some among the animals and plants. A common feature of all such forms of inanimate and animate uh, objects was the sense of awe or fear that they evoked. The description of living organisms, including human beings, much later in the human history. Societies which include in the anthropocentric view of biology could register limited progress in the biological knowledge. Systematic and monumental description of life forms brought in out of necessity detailed systems of identification, nomenclature and classification. The biggest spin of such studies was recognition of the sharing of similarities among living organisms, both horizontally and vertically. That all present day living organisms are related to each other and also to all living organisms that ever lived on this earth was a revolution which humbled man and led to the cultural movements for conservation of biodiversity. In the following chapter of this unit, you will get description including classification of animals and plants from a taxonomist perspective. Ernest Mayr 1904 to 2004, born on 5 July 1904 in Kempten, Germany, Ernest Mayr, the Harvard University evolutionary biologist who have been called the Darwin of 20th century, was one of the 100 greatest scientists of all times. Mayr joined Harvard's Faculty of Arts and Science in 1953 and retired in 1975, assuming the title Alexander Agris Professor of Zoology Emeritus. Throughout his nearly 80 years career, his research spanned ornithology, taxonomy, geography, evolution, systematics, and history and philosophy of biology. He almost single handedly made the origin of species diversity the central question of evolutionary biology that is today. He also pioneered the currently accepted definition of the biological species. Mayr was awarded the three prizes widely registered as a Triple Crown of Biology: the Belzan Prize in 1983, the International Prize for Biology in 1994, the Crawford Prize in 1999. Mayr died at the age of 100 in year 2004. Chapter 1, The Living World. How wonderful is the living world! The wide range of living types is amazing. The extraordinary habits in which we find living organisms, be it cold mountains, deciduous forests, oceans, freshwater lakes, deserts, or hot springs, leaves us speechless. The beauty of galloping horses, of the migrating birds, the valley of flowers, or the attacking shark evokes awe and a deep sense of wonder. The ecological conflicts and cooperation among the members of the population and among the population of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside a cell, makes a deeply reflection on what indeed is life. This question has two implicit questions within it. The first is a technical one and seeks the answer to what living is as opposed to the non living, and the second is the philosophical one and seeks answer to what is the purpose of life is. As scientists, we shall not attempt answering the second question. We will try to reflect on what is living. 1.1 Diversity in the living world. If you look around, you will see a large variety of living organisms, be it potted plants, insects, birds, your pets, or other animals and plants. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eye, but they are all around you. If you were to increase the area that you make observation in, the range and variety of organisms that you see would increase. Obviously, if you were to visit a dense forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organisms in it. Each different kind of plant, animal, or organism that you see represents a species. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. This refers to the biodiversity or the number and types of organisms present on Earth. We should remember here that as we explore new areas and even old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. As stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know the plants and animals in our own area by their local names. These local names would vary from place to place, even within a country. Probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find ways and means to talk to each other to refer to organisms we are talking about. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is identification. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name to each known organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria, which are provided in the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature (ICBN). You may ask, how are animals named? Animal taxonomists have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature (ICZN). The scientific names ensures that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other known organism. Biologists follows universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to the organisms. Each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. This system of providing a name with two components is called binomial nomenclature. This naming system, given by Carlos Linnaeus, is being practiced by the biologists all over the world. This naming system is this naming system using a two-word format was found convenient. Let us take the example of mango to understand the way of providing scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Let us see how it is a binomial name. In this name, Mangifera represents the genus while indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Other universal rules of biological Other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. Biological names. Point 1. Biological names are generally in the Latin and written in italics. They are Latinized or derived from Latin, irrespective of their origin. Point 2. The first word in the biological name represents the genus, while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Point number 3. Both the words in the biological name, when written, are separately underlined or printed in the italics to indicate their Latin origin. Point number 4. The first word denoting the genus starts with the capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. It can be illustrated with an example of Mangifera indica. Name of the author appears after the specific epithet, that is, at the end of biological name, and is written in an abbreviated form. Example: Mangifera indica Linn. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. Since it is nearly impossible to study all the living organisms, it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. This process is classification. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into the convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. For example, we easily recognize a group such as plants or animals or dogs, cats or insects. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters with the organism in that group. What image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of us will see the dog and not cats. Now, if we were to think of as scientists, we know what we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals, you would of course think of animal with the external ears and body hairs. Likewise in the plants, if we try to talk of wheat, the picture in each of our minds will be of wheat plants, not of rice or any other plant. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc., are convenient categories we use to study organisms. The scientific term of these categories is taxa. Here, you must recognize that taxa can indicate the categories at very different levels. Plants also form a taxa. Wheat is also a taxa. Similarly, animals, mammals, dogs are all taxa. But you know that a dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Therefore, animals, mammals, and dogs represent taxa at the different levels. Hence, based on the characteristics, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. This process is called this process of classification is taxonomy. External and internal structures, along with the structure of cell, development processes, and ecological information of organisms, are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Hence, characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature are the processes that are basic to taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings needed to find the source for their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. Hence, the earliest classification were based on the uses of various organisms. Human beings were since long, not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationship among them. This branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematics is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationship between organisms. 1.2 Taxonomic categories. Classification is not a single step process but involves the hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Since the category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called the taxonomic category, and all the categories together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category, referred to as a unit of classification, in fact represents a rank and is commonly termed as taxon. Taxonomic categories and hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insects represent a group of organisms sharing common features like three pairs of joint legs. It means insects are recognizable concert object which can be classified and thus were given a rank or category. Can you name other such group of organisms? Remember, groups represent category. Category further denotes ranks. Each rank or taxon in fact represent a unit of classification. These taxonomic groups categories are distinct biological entities and not merely morphological aggregates. Taxonomical studies of all the known organisms have led to the development of common categories such as kingdom, phylum, or division for plants, class, order, family, genus, and species. All organisms, including those in the plants and animal kingdom, have species as the lowest category. Now, the question you may ask is how to place an organism in the various categories. The basic requirement is the knowledge of characters of an individual or group of organisms. This helps in identifying the similarities and dissimilarities among the individuals of the same kind of organism as well as of other kind of organism. 1.2.1 Species. Taxonomic studies are considered a group of individuals organisms with fundamental similarities as a species. One should be able to distinguish one species from the other closely related species based on the distinct morphological differences. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum tuberosum potato, and Panthera leo lion. All the three names indica, tuberosum, and leo represents the specific epithet, while the first word Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera are genera and represents another higher level of taxon or category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithets representing different organisms but having morphological similarities. For example, Panthera has another specific epithet called tigris, and Solanum includes species like nigrum and Melongena. Human beings belong to the species Sapiens, which is grouped in a genus Homo. The specific name, thus, for the human beings is written as Homo sapiens. 1.2.2 Genus. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison to the species of other genera. We can say that genera are aggregates of closely related species. For example, potato and brinjal are the two different species, but both belong to the genus Solanum. Lion, Panthera leo, leopard, P. paradis, and tiger, P. tigris, with several common features, are all species of the genus Panthera. This genus differs from another genus Felis, which indicate cats. 1.2.3 Family. The next category, family, has a group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to the genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of the plant species. Among the plants, for example, the three different genera Solanum, Petunia, and Datura are placed in the family Solanaceae. Among animals, for example, genus Panthera, comprising lion, tiger, leopard, is put along with genus Felis cats in the family Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the feature of the cat and a dog, you will find some similarities and some differences as well. They are separated into two different families, Felidae and Canidae, respectively. 1.2.4 Order. You have seen earlier that categories like species, genus, and family are based on a number of similar characters. Generally, order and other higher taxonomic categories are identified based on aggregates of characters. Order, being a higher category, is the assemblage of families which exhibit a new that similar character. The similar character are less in the number as compared to the different genera included in the family. Plants families like Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae are included in the order polynomials mainly based on floral character. The animals the animal order Carnivora include the family like Felidae and Canidae. 1.2.5 Class. This category include related orders. For example, order Primata comprising monkey, gorilla and gibbons is placed in the class Mammalia along with order Carnivora that includes animals like tiger, cats and dogs. Class Mammalia has other orders also. 1.2.6 Phylum. Classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals constitute the next higher category called phylum. These based on common features like presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural systems are included in the phylum Chordata. In case of plants, classes with the few similar characters are assigned to a higher category called division. 1.2.7 Kingdom. All animals belonging to the various phyla are assigned to the highest category called kingdom Animalia in the classification system of animals. The kingdom Plantae, on the other hand, is distinct and comprises all plants from various divisions. Henceforth, we will refer to these two groups as animals and plants kingdom. The taxonomic categories from species to kingdom have been shown in ascending order starting with the species in figure 1.1. These are broad categories. However, taxonomists have also developed subcategories in this hierarchy to facilitate more sound and scientific placement of various taxa. Look at the hierarchy in the figure 1.1. Can you recall the basis of arrangements? Say, for example, as we go to the higher from species to the kingdom, the number of common characteristics goes on decreasing. The lower taxa, more are the characteristics that the members within the taxon share. Higher the category, greater is the difficulty of determining the relationship to other taxa at the same level. Hence, the problem of classification becomes more complex. Table 1.1 indicates the taxonomic categories to which some common organisms like housefly, mango, and wheat belongs. Table 1.1 organisms with their taxonomic categories: common name, biological name, genus, family, order, class, phylum or division. Man, common name man, biological name Homo sapiens, genus Homo, family Hominidia, order Primata, class Mammalia, phylum or division Chordata. Common name housefly, biological name Muca domestica, genus Muca, family Mucidae, order Diaptera, class Insecta, phylum or division Arthropoda. Mango, Mangifera indica, Mangifera, Anacardiaceae, Sapindales, Dicotyledonea, Angiosperma. Common name wheat, biological name Ticticum aestivum, genus Triticum, Lipoaceae, order Poles, class Monocotyledonea, phylum or division Angiosperma. Summary: the living world is rich in varieties. Millions of plants and animals have been identified and described, but the large number still remains unknown. The very range of organisms in terms of size, color, habitat, physiological and morphological features makes us seek the defining characteristics of living organisms. In order to facilitate the study of kinds and diversity of organisms, biologists have evolved certain rules and principles for identification, nomenclature, and classification of organisms. The branch of knowledge dealing with these aspects is referred to as taxonomy. The taxonomic studies of various species of plants and animals are useful in agriculture, forestry, industry, and in general for knowing our bioresources and their diversities. The basis of taxonomy, like identification, naming, and classification of organisms, are universally evolved under international codes. Based on resemblance and distinct difference, each organism is identified and assigned a correct scientific or biological name comprising two words as per the binomial system of nomenclature. An organism represents or occupies a place or position in the system of classification. There are many categories or ranks and are generally referred to as taxonomic categories or taxa. All the categories constitute a taxonomic hierarchy.